Okay, recording. Hi, ladies. How you all doing? Today, I have very exciting presentation for you because this was really highly requested to go over the right muscles. If you are actually targeting the right muscles in order to prevent injury, but also to see faster and better results, right? So this is why I have another coach with me named Dore, and then she is an expert as well. She has been coaching women as well, and she is in-person trainer. So we will be going over this presentation together. So you have more knowledge from both of us, not just from me, but you have more value. And then we will dive deeper into how to actually target your right muscles. So definitely stay tuned until the end. And Dory, do you want to say something about you so the ladies will get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah, hi everyone. So my background is basically in basketball, CrossFit, calisthenics, and Olympic weightlifting. And I've been coaching full time since roughly 2021, 22.
Nice. That's amazing. Yeah. I've been on my journey like itself like 10 years and coaching for about 5 years as well. So yeah,
That's,
amazing.
yeah.
Perfect. So we can dive into this presentation and we will start with common mistakes because when I entered the gym and then I see so many PTs are still having clients on the floor, but they are not still doing it really well. Or sometimes when I see some of the videos that you are sending me over, then I see some of the common mistakes as well. And I want to also go over the mistakes I've done when I started my fitness journey. Okay. Um, do you see, Jory, a lot of mistakes as well, like when you are training some of your clients?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
And most of them are actually listed on this slide right now. So, yeah, it's
nice.
really common mistakes.
Perfect. So let's dive into that. The first one is definitely using a momentum. This is something that I see. It's kind of like a ego lifting, I would say, when you think that you can lift a lot of weights, but you are actually using every single muscle on your body because you are just like throwing the dumbbells, like you look instead of like you targeting the right muscle groups on your shoulders, you look like you are going about to fly, and we don't want that. Okay, so using momentum not just in shoulder lateral raises but in every single exercise when you are kind of like going really quickly through the exercise, which is number two as well. It's kind of like the same kind of two mistakes at once when you are just feeling maybe you are in a rush, so you just want to do it really quickly, so you are doing exercises like without really focusing on the right muscle connection. Then another mistake I see, you are not eating before the workout. Okay, I've been there. I felt kind of like dizzy when I did a workout on a full stomach actually. And then what I see also that you are not challenging yourself enough. So sometimes when I'm going over your workout programs, I see that you are putting like 15 repetitions, even though it was set for 8 repetitions. So it means that you are not challenging yourself enough. So the last 2, 3 reps should be really challenging. I want you to sweat. I want you to get red. I want you to go really slow into those last 2, 3 reps. Because if you just going through the momentum again, if you're just like throwing the weights all over and then you just put 15, then obviously we will never see amazing results just because you are not targeting the right muscles. You are not burning the muscles actually. Yeah. And then what else? Same reps, yes. So this is another one that I see like when I'm going over your workouts, that you are actually doing, let's say, 12 reps for squats. Next week, 12 reps, 12 reps, 12 reps, the same weight, the same everything. And this is one of the main mistakes because we want to target your muscles, but we want to progressively overload, which we will talk about. But I want you to increase the weights or the reps on a weekly basis while maintaining your form without using the momentum. I know it is getting a little bit challenging, but we definitely want to keep challenging your body, and this is how the muscles actually get bigger, and then the more muscles you have, the more body fat you're gonna burn as well. And obviously not being consistent. If you are doing one workout in a week, then two next week, then maybe zero next week, and then back to three, your body will not get used to the progressive overload, and you are just burning yourself inside out. So we will never see the results that we supposed to. Okay. Dory, do you want to add anything with like anything like from your own experiences?
Maybe just a couple things. One would be, and this sort of goes hand in hand with same reps and weights every week, is sort of like going through the motion, as in like you're just doing squats for the sake of doing squats, but then also, and this one ties with concentration. Like you're not focusing on what you're doing, you're just doing something, but your head is in the clouds or somewhere else, maybe still back at work, or even now back at home after having like this basically third stop in between home and work being the gym. So
Yeah.
you're not actually paying attention to what you're doing, and concentration is really just not in the equation.
Yeah.
And then another thing would be with, and this one goes with using momentum, is not using proper form.
Mm-hmm.
So I often see that even if it's not necessarily like super big swings or jerking movements, even in just say a squat, but then you're sort of losing the opportunity to practice the movements and use the actual muscle that you should be using, and you're just diving down and then just explosive on the way up for some reason, but you're not really actually using what you should be using, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And we will go over some of the exercises later in this presentation. So definitely stay tuned for that. And let's talk about the progressive overload. This is something that we've covered like in the third, well, at some point. So basically, progressive overload is, as I mentioned, we don't want to stay stuck at the same repetitions, same weights at all. Like this is probably what you've done before my program, and that's why you didn't see the results. So actually, to get toned, to build better booty, to get better physique, we actually need to apply the progressive overload. That means that every single week, I want you to increase the repetitions if you cannot increase the weights. And for example, you will not be able to increase the weights when you are focusing on the shoulders. It's super hard for us, like as women. Like I am literally doing 4 kilos on lateral raises for the past 5 years. So it's super hard. But in this case, for example, you can just keep adding more repetitions. So instead of 12, next week, I want you to do 14. Next week, I want you to do 16. Next week, I want you to do 18, So this is how you can increase it. If you know that, for example, you can increase the weight on a weekly basis, I want you to add at least 5% every single week. So for example, let's say shoulder press or squats, you are literally squatting like 20 kilos. Next week, you can add 23 kilos. Then next week, 25 kilos, and see how you get on. But definitely make sure to warm up, obviously, before your workout. So yeah, definitely progressive overload is also tying to tempos. When you are using the momentum, you are not using any tempo, you are just rushing through the movement, you are not focusing on the muscle. So when you are actually focusing on the tempo, which means, for example, leg extensions, you're gonna like push up your legs, you're gonna feel the quads, and then you're gonna go slowly down and up for 2 seconds, squeeze the muscle, and then go slowly down. The same for lateral raises. Instead of like flying, I want you to go up 1 second, hold it up there, and then slowly down. Okay. Dory, do you want to add anything for the progressive overload? Because yeah, this is kind of like topic not many people knows about.
Yeah, and I really like using tempo also as a tool. Another one could be manipulating rest times. So if you feel that you're ready, you might not necessarily need to wait out, let's say 90 seconds to start your next set. It can even be like 60 seconds, but keep that minimum 60-second mark. That could be another one. Also with progressive overload, if you feel like you cannot increase the weight for set reps, say it's 10 reps, it's fine to do 8 or even 6 at a heavier weight. So you sort of putting this in parallel. You're either going to increase the reps, you're either going to increase the weight, or you drop the reps, but you increase the weight. So you get stronger. And then the next week you try again for higher reps, the same thing, and see whether you got stronger or not.
Yeah,
So you can
totally.
get those as well.
Yeah, totally. Also, this was actually a really good point, and I want to add to that. So, for example, I see that the first set in your workout is usually like the lighter one. Honestly, start always tracking the heaviest weight. So, if you know that you can actually do lighter one for like 10 reps, just do it as a warm up set, and then go into 8 reps, but like heavy weight, for example. And we want to always start tracking the heavier weight, because this is kind of like um the working set, basically. I hope it makes sense, ladies. If not, let us know in the comments, because we want to make sure that you really understand this, how important it is actually to see fast results. Okay, so yeah, definitely keep increasing your weights in your sets. I don't want to see, well, very little, well, not often. I don't want to see like the same numbers. So the first set should be the heaviest one. Then it depends on your energy. Maybe you can do the same one, but maybe you can plan with your reps. Not plan, play. And then the last set should be kind of like depending on your energy. You either drop the weights, or maybe you can do more reps, so you can kind of like play with that how you feel. Yeah, I hope it makes sense. Yes, so this is something that we actually touched based on as well. Tempo is super important, especially like biceps curls, squatting, like in every single exercise. I don't want to go into like super details like on eccentric and eccentric, but Dori, do you want to just say something more about the tempo?
I guess it's also a good idea that if you feel like you're not ready for a heavier weight, to actually execute the movement, like say for a deadlift or a squat, it's okay just to do the weight down. You'll get stronger anyway, and then you don't need to come back up in a squat, or you don't need to like actually lift the weight for the deadlift. That could be one. Also, if you're not actually confident in how to do a move, doing lots of eccentrics while you get stronger is also a good way that the weight is going to show you the nice, like the correct bar path anyway. So your body is getting that sort of drilled in how you should be moving throughout
Yeah.
the phase of the movement.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the slower you will do that, the
Yeah.
better actually you will perform it as well. Because it's
Yeah,
so
because you're not time to catch up. So like your brain actually understands what you're trying to do, and those edit seconds they add up even up here. So next time you'll be actually more prepared, even mentally, how to do something.
Yeah, totally. And I would always suggest, like, we are having on your videos, you have always in a bracket. This is something that I'm trying to do for every single video. You have, for example, in a bracket back or lats or biceps. So always when you see this muscle group, try to focus on that muscle group as well. So, for example, if I say like biceps curls, and then you doing this specific exercise on this presentation, I want you to go really slowly and all the way down, like stretch the muscles as much as you can, and then go up and then squeeze the muscle as well. Yeah, we don't want to just like throw the dumbbell again, like we are not doing anything like this. We want to really keep it controlled, and this is for every single exercise. Okay, perfect. And yeah, so for example, I like this one because I see that we always want to work on our booty, on the legs, because we can go really heavy. But that doesn't mean that when we are doing the upper body, we should be nice to ourselves. I still want you to challenge yourself, because the sexy back will also help you with your posture, with how you are standing, with your confidence, with better breathing as well, because you are strengthening those muscles on your chest as well. So definitely challenge yourself, even if you are doing upper body. Don't worry, you will not get bulky, you will not look like a man. Okay, this is just the myth, but we don't have the testosterone to actually get bulky. So that's why I'm trying to push you to lift a little bit heavier, because you're gonna get actually toned and not bulky. Yeah. Perfect. So yeah, this is something that we mentioned as well, but I want you to really focus on the mind to muscle connection, which means I want you to focus on the specific muscle that you are currently working, because we are not doing any HIIT workouts. We are not doing any crazy HIIT cardio stuff. We are actually just doing one exercise then another exercise, then another exercise. So every single exercise has a purpose. And I want you to really focus on that specific muscle group that you will be targeting. So, like extensions is the quads. So, I want you to really focus on how your quad is feeling. I want you to really focus on the burn in the quad. For lying hamstring curls, let's say, I want you to really focus on the slow movement all the way down, then up, squeeze the hamstring as well, and then go slowly down. Yeah. Jody, do you want to add anything?
No, yeah, I agree. Also, another thing that could help you target the right muscles is correct breathing throughout the exercise. So if you can keep your core tight and rigid, what needs to be solid stays solid, basically, and then you can actually move the body part with the correct muscles because you don't need to pay attention to anything else. So you're only moving what you be doing.
Yeah, exactly. I love the breathing part just because it is super important. We always want to engage the core like before any workout, no matter what. Like, even me, I'm still doing planks, I'm still doing some up exercises for like at least 3 minutes. It doesn't need to be too long, but I want to still engage my core because that will help you to actually engage your back as well from the other side, so you are protecting your lower back, you are protecting your spine, and so on, and you will be also be able to lift heavier. And we don't want to feel any joints pain or any kind of pain at all. We really want to focus just on the muscles, and if you have any pain, let me know, but we don't want to work out through the pain. Yeah. And then when it comes to the breathe in, I always want you to focus on the breath. So, for example, when you're doing the exercise, always try to inhale really deeply, engage the core. Either you can just hold the breath. So, for example, for really heavy squats, I would like to know actually your breathing techniques, Dore. But for example, in squats, when I'm like up, I like deep breathe, engaging the core. Then I'm squatting down, holding the breath, then up, and then exhale and inhale again. And then basically, I'm starting every single fucking rep with new breath. Okay. I don't just like go up and down, or even like with rows, I'm still like focusing on when I'm engaging the core and trying to focus on the breathing.
Yeah, absolutely. One key point, like for us in Olympic weightlifting, we're doing breathing a little bit differently than say powerlifters.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's better to sort of think of intra-abdominal pressure being, we really want to keep our lower abs and transverse abs tight, and we're trying to breathe more like into our chest and our rib cage to feel that sort of area, but stay tight really down low. And that's what we're also doing when we're doing squats, so we can maintain the upright posture that's not, well, it isn't really maintained most of the time by bodybuilders and powerlifters. So that's
Do you
where
have
it's a.
like, mm-hmm. Sorry.
You say that? Yeah. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just wondering, like, do you have any tips how to breathe for those ladies who are watching?
Yeah, because I'm really hooked on it, on the entire topic. And I do breath work. I think it's insane and it helps a lot. So an easy way to actually imagine it, if you just stand tall and then maybe within 5 to 10 seconds, you exhale all of your air slowly through your mouth. And then if you palpate your pelvic bones on your body and you maybe like an inch you go in, you'll feel that muscle get really tight. That's your deep core, that's your transverse abdominis. That gets tight by, well, it's automatic sort of. And then as you practice, even when bodybuilders do the vacuum pose, so you should be able to control that muscle, keep that tight. And then if you just actually visualize where your rib cage is, you try to feel that area like 360 degrees, like to the side, to the front, and to the back. And where your sternum lies, you want to enlarge that area as well. So you want to deep breathe basically into your rib cage, your sternum, and your chest up high here. And that's a really tall posture. And it's a really as well that keeps your spine protected when you're lifting heavy weights. But then it's so a tighter body is always lighter to move. When you nail that sort of breathing technique, squats and deadlifts and a lot of other exercises are going to be a lot easier.
Yeah. And also, when it comes to the breathe in, what really helps me, and I want you to do that, ladies, always rotate your shoulders to the back. That way you are actually engaging your lats. And again, you are more stronger in your upper body, which means you are also creating more space for your breathing. So again, like when you are doing this, it really helps me, for example, and then I can breathe properly. And also you are locking kind of like your shoulders. So you are standing more, upright as well.
I would agree to a point. The difference is, I think, like, I see a lot of clients trying to breathe deep and into their chest, but then sort of comes the question of rib flare, right? So like your pelvis and your chest can stay parallel to each other. That's actually the healthy way to breathe. And then your rib cage tends to move as you breathe up and down, it moves. But then when people want to really sort of, the camera is so small. So when people want to deep breathe, they sort of arch their back as well. Their chest flares up, but they're
Okay.
doing the breathing right. So what you want to do is stand by a wall. Your heels are not going to touch the wall. So maybe like 5 centimeters to like 8 centimeters away from the wall. Your bum is going to stay on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then your shoulders in line with the ear and the back of the head. And if you look ahead, that's a good posture, and then you should be able to increase the volume of your rib cage and your chest when you breathe without actually arching really high, because in this position, that's not a strong position to do anything from.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I hope you are learning a lot, ladies,
Hope
from
so.
expert. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so obviously for me, I didn't think that, to be honest,
Mm.
because yeah, I always like do this and then I stayed still. But yeah, you had a good point that some girls can do like this, but then they are like opening the chest. So we don't want to like open crazy the chest. Like we just want to stay really tall and strong in like one line position.
Kind of.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Um yeah, so this is just like a general tips basically. We never want to lock out your knees, for example, like in the leg press. I see that like especially if you are hypermobile, like if you are like pushing the leg press, I saw that like sometimes you want to like lock the knee, and we don't want that. Like I want you to like push it, but really keep it like natural and then push it down. Like like the way you would sit down, like you wouldn't stand up and lock your knee, right? Like when you are standing up. So that's the same for squats. Like you don't want to lock your knees. You don't like when you are pushing the leg press, you don't want to lock the knee at the top. Okay, so no more locking out your knees. This will help you to protect your knee ligaments as well. um Same for neck. We don't want to look, to the mirror. You don't want to look like to the side, like where are your friends, how you look, today in the mirror and stuff like that. We want to keep your spine and the neck in a one line position. So for example, like when you are doing the rows, you want, like, where am I? Here. So you
Yeah.
want to go like look always down. Where am I? Here.
You're
Yeah, this space is small. You always want to look down kind of thing, so you are keeping the line really nicely straight with your neck and spine with every single exercise. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's like squat, if it's deadlift, if it's rows, we want to keep this in the line together. Okay. What else? Yeah, we talk about the injury. We don't want to work out through the injury, and machines can be sometimes really good if you are not sure, for example, on your form. So always let me know if you are not sure, or send me your videos. Then obviously we have like really compound movements that are a little bit heavier, that you can go a little bit heavier, and then we have the isolated one, which we will talk. So let's just run through quickly through those main exercises. So yeah, Dori, do you want to go over squats?
it's best to ask an Olympic weightlifter. So maybe a slide or 2 slides back, there was bullet pointed like it is okay for your knees to go over your toes when you squat, and if you can, please do that. It's absolutely fine so long as you can keep your core tight and you don't have a butt wing, and you can actually keep a rigid core. That's absolutely normal. If you see and watch kids, if you have the ankle mobility, hip mobility, and shoulder mobility to do that, then go for it. And in terms of squats, what you want to do, it's sort of like at an even pace, or like at the same time you break at the hip and the knee, and you want to basically sit in between your heels with your core tight, and as you press back up, you also want to use your feet, right? So the toes are going to grab the floor, you're going to push down with the legs, and that leg drive will basically push you back up to standing. So don't think of it as going just up and down. The more force you press into the ground, and with the head, with the top of the head, you reach tall, the better your posture is going to be throughout the whole movement. And it's like covers all lower body. So yeah, even your calves, hamstrings, quads, and glutes. Mostly though your quads and glutes.
Yeah, and your core as well. And sometimes I even feel like my back, honestly, like when I'm
But
lifting.
definitely, because, and if we're talking like a back squat, so you're pressing your shoulder up a little bit and you retract your shoulder blades. So you're pressing your shoulder blades together. And if you are challenging yourself, it should feel like you need to press the back into the bar so you can actually lift up, maintaining a good back angle. So your hips and your chest rise at the same time, and you don't do this sort of hips and then chest sort of wave like movement as you go up. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely a lot of back work as well.
totally. I have just two things that I want to mention that I see a lot of mistakes with. It's I don't want you to wear cardio shoes, like no more running shoes. Throw
Oh
them
yeah,
away if you are actually lifting heavy. We want to get like flat shoes, either Metcon, Vans, Converse, or any kind of flat shoes. Or if you don't have that and you don't want to invest in proper shoes, then
barefoot.
just be barefoot. Okay, take off your shoes and squat in socks. Sorry, so you are actually using your toes, as Dori said, like you are using your toes and all points on your feet to actually push up.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
and
way you are also keeping yourself balanced.
yeah, that's very important. So another note on that, you want to maintain the heel, the line of your outer and inner foot as well on the ground. But another thing that you could do, if you're not wearing weightlifting shoes, and why would you in a commercial gym, is that stacking a couple of thin plates underneath just your heels, so you get a little bit of a heel elevation, but you gain a lot more of ankle mobility if your calves, say, are really tight. So you can
Mm,
press the knees a little bit further out in line with your toes.
yeah.
Ideally, your second toe or big toe, but the knees should track the foot. When you're doing the squat, it shouldn't cave in, and it shouldn't really go way out of line
Yeah.
of your pinky
So we
either.
want to focus on pushing your knees out,
Yeah,
and
now
that way,
out forward, so it really
yeah.
tracks the direction of your foot.
Mm, yeah, totally. So basically, you don't want to put your feet like that. You want to just like keep them a little bit outside. And then
Yeah,
what really helps me, because I have really tight hips, I want to stand a little bit like sumo kind of thing. So like shoulder width apart, and then toes will be slightly pointing outside, not like I don't want you to actually squat with your narrow feet and then pointing forward, because that will be super hard for you. So just stay a little bit more grounded, like shoulder width apart, and then rotate your toes slightly out as well.
yeah. I would say,
Okay.
like, even like for us women, our pelvis is way wider, and our Q angle at your thighs, like the femur bone, is very different from men's. So we
Yeah.
need a different sort of stance for most squats. And again, if you're doing it barefoot or just like hard flat shoes, you might need a wider stance. You might need a heel elevation, and you might need to just turn your feet slightly more out. But important that to keep the knees in line with the toes, and
Mhm.
then let the knees fall forward if you can.
Yeah. Love that. Perfect. Leg press, it's very similar movement. So we are still targeting the lower back, lower body. So quads mainly. And then if you're gonna put it a little bit up, then again, like try to put it like a little bit sumo kind of thing, like wider than your shoulders, and then again point out if you feel like you cannot go really deep down. So that really helped me. For example, if you have it like really narrow, you might not do it really deep. So you can always kind of play with the feet. But for me, it works like when I have it like shoulder width apart, again, toes out, just because of my hip mobility. And then I want you to kind of focus on bringing the knee all the way to your chest and then push really fast. Okay, so you are going kind of like slow towards your chest and then up. This is what I do. This is what really helped me. So kind of like we are using the tempo as well. Yeah. Okay, deadlift. Dori, you are the master. You don't need to go super crazy because I don't actually do a lot of deadlifts with my clients, but you can go through like the RDLs mostly.
RDLs. Okay, so that's the one that starts from the top and then goes down. But the thing is that I don't think most people know how to actually hinge correctly. So it's more like a horizontal movement to the way back. So imagine that you just, I don't know, did your errands and your groceries and your hands are full, but you need to, I don't know, close the door of your car, right? And your hands are full. Oops. What you want to do is really just push the bum back, as if you wanted to actually close the door with force, rather than going down and doing just like a squat like motion. And the key thing here is, again, goes with the breathing. So you need to really keep that lower and the deep core tight as you're pressing the hip back. So you maintain a nice and tight back also on the way down. You don't necessarily need to go deep in terms of below the knee or whatever. If you feel the stretch and if you feel your hamstrings and your glutes working even just above the knee, that's fine as well. With time, you will able to go deeper and deeper into the exercise, but maintain the foot pressure, maintain the deep core tension, and just press your hips like literally back as far as you can while maintaining a nice and steady torso.
Yeah, totally. So again, two mistakes I've seen, like either you are going way too low, like almost to the front, to the floor, but then when your back kind of like drops, we don't want that. We want to keep the back really strong, and then once you're gonna once you will not feel your glutes are stretching, that's when you can go up, because there is no point going even lower down if you don't feel the glutes anymore, because this is the main actually targeting like the muscle. So yeah, this was actually really good. Just like push the door with your bum, nothing else. We don't want to squat. We don't want to actually like squat in your knees. We just want to kind of like just close the door with your bum and then you go up again.
Another
What
like
really
yeah,
Go
really good tip for that is to maintain balance and mid-foot pressure. So if you feel like you are shifting your weight way too far backwards towards your heels, then you probably went way too far. And also if you're feeling most of your pressure of your foot at the forefoot, so like your toes, that's another sign that you're not doing something really well. And another one, if you have a broomstick or like a PVC pipe, if you align it along your spine, if you maintain 2 points of contact with the PVC and your back, then you can maintain that back tension and tightness. That's good. The moment it becomes rounded and you just have 1 point of contact with the PVC or the broomstick, then again you went too low, or you're weak at your back and you're not doing it right again. So just try to really maintain the sort of 2 points of contact around the bum and somewhere in between your shoulder blades.
Yeah, totally. And two things again, I want you to focus on: look down always, just to keep your spine and head in the same line, and then engage your core. So breathing is super important. I always inhale at the top. Same with squats, like engage the core. You go down and up, and then I do exhale, because we don't want to exhale when you are actually under the load, when you are at the bottom. This is when you need to stay really strong and then pull it up, and then you can focus on the breathe again. Yeah. Lunges. So yeah, we don't want to actually step behind the leg. We want to step slightly to the side just for better balance. Again, no cardio shoes, because you will be like this when you are doing the lunges, and then you will be messaging me, I cannot balance. Yes, have a look at your shoes first, and if you have cardio shoes, throw them away, and then either put some normal flat shoes, or just do a barefoot as well, because that will actually help you to feel more balanced. Then another thing is look down in front of you at one spot the whole exercise. Don't move your eyes. Don't look where everything is. You just need to look at one spot. And again, engage the core, same as everywhere. Inhale at the top, engage, and then do the lunge, and then up, and then again breathe out, inhale, and do it. what there are two things actually when it comes to the lunges. If you are leaning a little bit more forward and the dumbbells are going towards your ankle, you are actually stretching really nicely the glutes and then a little bit of the quads. But if you are standing straight and then you just doing this basically, and then you are keeping like this guy, the dumbbells next to your back leg, then you are focusing a lot on the quad. Okay, so if you want to really target the glutes, I would lean forward a little bit more. This is just the bodybuilding hack. Do you want to add anything for the lunges?
Maybe just one minor thing. So even here, we want hip stability, right? So when you do the lunge, just pay attention to your knee not being wobbly side to side, but you also want to maintain good outer hips, like glute medius tension, and keep it in line with your foot again, and really forcefully press back, or like depending on what direction you're doing the lunge, you always want to maintain that sort of nice outer hip tension and steady hip.
Yeah, totally. And again, like once you're gonna kind of like step maybe forward or backwards, we don't want the knee to cave in. We want to keep thinking about like pushing the knee a little bit out. Yeah, so never kind of like cave your knee in. Doesn't matter what exercise, we always want to push it a little bit out. Yeah. Okay, next, hip thrust, my favorite. And then we do shoulders. Okay, and then we are almost finished. So hip thrust, my favorite one. So I'll just go over this one because we are about building the booty. So I have a couple tips. So we always want to make sure that your legs are 90-degree angle. So that way you are targeting actually the glute medius, which is like your main booty area. Because if, for example, your feet will be forward, like away from you, then you will be targeting the hamstrings, so your back leg. And then if it's like really close to your bum, then you will be targeting the quads, like the top leg. So we want to really target just the glutes, nothing else. So 90-degree angle. Again, look forward. This is the only case we're gonna look forward, okay? But it is a little bit different just because we are shortening the whole muscle that goes through your back all the way to your glutes. So we want to have a double chin. We want to have it, okay? So always look forward, chin to the chest. And then what really helps me is kind of like locking the barbell with my arms. So I am kind of like keeping it really wide, and then I'm even like rotating, like focus on breaking the barbell. This is what really helps me. And then when I'm kind of like breaking the barbell, I always engage the lats as well. So you are strong in your upper body while lifting a lot of weights as well with your glutes. And this is, you can do this on the floor, you can do this with dumbbells. It's the same exercise, the same kind of tips for each of this. And then again, we want to focus on breathing, because we want to keep your core really strong. So before you're gonna do the set or the reps, I want you to breathe in, engage the core, and then you push up, okay? Because we want to keep the core really strong under the load, and then you gonna apply the tempo, you're gonna go really slowly down and then up, squeeze the glutes for at least 1 second, and then slowly go down. And it applies to like Smith machine, barbells, dumbbells, and all that, even body weight. Yeah. Okay. Shoulders. Dori, do you want to go over?
Well, one would be, but it's a little bit different from bodybuilding. I find that many people just do the shoulder presses in either direction with their shoulders completely sunk down. Oops, like this way. If you press it a little bit up, then it's a stronger position to push from, and it also protects your joint as well, because you're not pressing the weight on basically your joint every single time that it hits, because like for full range of motion, it should actually touch your shoulder and then press nice and high. So that would be one. Different variations can help. I find that for most people, the front delts are either dominant and just weak and tight, so it's pulled in, or it's like strong enough on its own anyway. But I find that the back of the shoulder tends to be weaker basically 9 out of 10 times. So I would say that if you can just go for the mid raises and mostly for the, like say, yeah, even in here, the real delt rows or just like face pulls, those are great exercises also for posture.
Mhm.
With the lateral raise, what you want to do is imagine that you're pressing your shoulders actively down towards your hip, and then you want to raise your elbow nice and high without the shoulder sort of sliding up with it. You want to keep it pressed down, and you just want to lift with an aggressive elbow up
Yeah.
sort of.
And you don't want to go over your shoulder. Just keep it in the
Not
shoulder. Yeah, that
so
will
it's
help.
of the hand, it's sort of the actual tension that you feel at the middle of the shoulder. It can be even down here if you feel it, and if your mobility allows it, you can go slightly higher, but it's not the height of the elbow or the hand. If it slides up here, it's wrong anyway, and I can have my elbow here and my hand here as well. It
Yeah.
doesn't anymore.
Yeah. So we don't want to shrug basically, because when you are kind of like shrugging in this exercise, you are targeting your traps, so the neck muscles basically, and it can lead to migraines if you're not doing it right, to headaches and so on. So we want to just keep it like really just towards the shoulder line, and then kind of like slowly down. For the shoulder press, actually, I've seen a lot of girls are doing it like kind of like backwards and then pushing it, and then they are like, my shoulder hurts. If that hurts you, then it probably means that your mobility is not well, your body just doesn't allow this. So what you can do is
Depends.
just bring it forward just slightly. It doesn't need to be like all the way, but just slightly, so it's not completely like in line like 90 degrees, but you're gonna like move it slightly forward, and that way you can still do it while your joints will be much more happier.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't even really like that sort of variation when, even in a push up, when you're flared to the side, I like to keep my client's arms roughly at 45 degrees to the body and then press from there. It's stronger anyway, rather than just having it up here to the side right there.
Yeah, totally, because it's more natural for us. Like we've never done any kind of movement in a daily life like that, like with our shoulders to the back, right? It doesn't exist. So just keeping it natural, like you would do, like if you would just suddenly raise your arms and do this. This is where you want to keep it, because every single exercise should be natural. We don't want to create something that you don't do on a daily basis, basically.
I would say like it's okay in one case from the top of my head to have the shoulders there when you're doing the wall slide. But even then, the entire segment of your spine should be on the wall with the back of the head, and sort of like a mid-back exercise anyway, not a shoulder exercise. But that's when you're having your shoulders to the side, literally on the wall, with your lower arm also on the wall, and then press up in that sort of plane. Otherwise, for a shoulder press, if you can go narrow to like 45 to the body, that's completely fine.
Yeah, totally agree. And isolated exercises, let's just go over really quickly because they are super simple if you think about it. You just need to target the right muscles that it's written in the exercise. Okay, there is no science behind it, like super crazy science. It is super simple. So if you have biceps curl, just do the biceps basically, and then just apply the same as we said, like the tempo, go all the way, stretch the muscle, because the more you're gonna stretch the muscle, the better it will grow, and then go all the way up, squeeze it. The same for triceps. It doesn't matter if it's just dumbbell or cables, but we want to like, glue your elbow to your ribs, and then we want to really focus on the triceps, which is the back muscle. And then once you are kind of like down, you just want to bring it all the way and then squeeze the triceps and then go all the way up. I've seen so many girls, they are just like doing this. I don't know, I can't even do that. But we don't want to just keep doing this because you are not targeting it. I want you to really keep it close to your body and then just use the triceps. Honestly, when I do this, I still feel my triceps. When I do this, I feel my biceps, and that's what you should do. So you don't need actually a weight, you don't need a dumbbell, you can still feel it if you think about the specific muscle. Okay, calf raise the same, like you just want to focus on just the calf. If you are suddenly feeling shoulders, obviously you are doing something wrong. Lateral raises the same, like if you are feeling your traps, your neck, you are probably shrugging it, you are trying to fly away. So we don't want that. We want to keep it really simple, slow, controlled. Hamstring curls, the same. No more quick movements. Really slowly down, put it down, and then go up. Squeeze the hamstring, leg extension. Going up, squeeze the quads, and then slowly down. Okay, there's nothing super complicated because these exercises are just isolated. So you shouldn't be using your momentum. You shouldn't be using any other muscles, just the one muscle. Okay. Perfect. So yeah, if you have, ladies, any questions about any specific exercise, let me know. What I'm actually doing now, if you go into our Facebook group, I created like a guide, and then in the guide, I am posting my tutorials how to do specific exercises, for example. So if you don't know some exercise, you can either message me, send me your form videos, or go to the Facebook group under the guides and then just check it out there. Okay. Jory, do you want to add anything to any of those exercises or another exercises?
I think you said it perfectly now.
Perfect. Amazing. Ladies, hopefully that was useful. If yes, drop your biggest takeaways down below. What have you learned today? Because yeah, we went over like 45 minutes. So hopefully that was valuable for you. And if yes, please let us know, because that will help us to create more content for you, more value for you. And yeah, just keep sending me your form videos, because we want to make sure that you are exercising correctly and we're going to see faster results. Okay, I'll speak to you soon.